Hello, it's Shelley again. I'm back with step 2 of my process after meeting with the client, taking a bunch of notes, and then coming back to my home office. So let me show you a few documents so that you can see what happens next. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I usually start by creating this Excel spreadsheet, and it's basically interior design proposal for the awesome client by Thrive Design, dated up here on the right. And then I like to go room by room. And I'll start with, in this case, the kitchen. So we were talking about doing the countertop. We're going to have a different price for what the labor is. We're going to have a different price for the fabrication, the delivery. What kind of sink are we having? What kind of basket strainers are we doing? And so I'll plug in as many of these that I can right off the top of my head based on the notes that I just took from the appointment. And then if I have any specific sizes, remember I took measurements at that first appointment, I will come in here and write down what those are. So that as I get to the point where I'm doing my searching, I can look back on this spreadsheet and have all my details. Or very worst case scenario, I put the notes, the handwritten notes in my notebook, and I can go look at them from there. I also will start another spreadsheet. No, not a spreadsheet. I'll start a Word document, and this is what I call my suggestions document. And you can see the way that it starts out. We're looking for a black faucet. So what I'll do is I'll find a couple different things that I like, that I'd like to recommend. I'm keeping in mind not only the style variations, but I might also be keeping in a price variation. I might have one that's more expensive and maybe cutting edge, which in this case, the Delta faucet on the left is super hip and popular right now. Or the Kohler, which is more traditional looking and very fantastic in and of itself, especially because it's in the black color, which is a popular color right at the moment. So I'm giving them two options. I do try not to give too many options because, of course, there's millions of options available. And that's half the trick of this job, is to help narrow down the offerings so that people can make a decision. If the mind has too many options, it will get confused and it will not make any decision. Now, I did go against my own rule about that when it came down here to looking for the farm sink. So we started out with the idea of wanting to have a farm sink, and we're retrofitting it into existing cabinetry. So there's a little bit of a trick in this case because we had a certain width that we were working with. We had a certain depth that it had to be within. And so I had all these different options in mind. Styling changes in the front, different accessories that you could have. And then, of course, what options for the basket strainer and the disposal flange? Do you need a new disposal? And then in this next section, I like to show some of the differences to explain whether we're mounting flush mount. Is the sink coming up to the very top and meeting the countertop? So it's all one level plane, which is what these two pictures are all about. In fact, this one, the sink might even be proud of the countertop a bit. Or are we doing the countertop on top of the sink? And of course, all of these details matter, especially if we're trying to retrofit into a small 9-inch space above the doors of the cabinet below because in this case, we're not replacing any of the cabinetry. We're leaving all the cabinets. We're just changing out the countertop, the sink, the faucet, backsplash, and hardware. This also is an example of just an undermount sink with the countertop over the top. And I threw that in there because I was starting to run into some intuitive feelings that the farm sink wasn't the best idea. And I didn't know that officially until I got the quote from the countertop manufacturer, the fabricator, that said that the sink would have to be in place before they would do the measurement. And of course, that was going to be really impossible because I'm trying to cram the entire cram. That sounds bad, but it's not. I'm attempting to utilize the least amount of time for them to be without a kitchen. Then all the different examples and the styles of finishing that you can put with the fabrication of the slab. In this case, we ended up going with just a very simple eased edge. It's got a little bit of a curve at the top and the bottom, not super rounded like this guy on the far right, and not a pointy edge at the middle guy. So this is all a matter of preference. There's not necessarily one way to do it. There are maybe styling suggestions that I might make based on the theme or the design pattern being used in this kitchen. And in this case, I just really like the eased edge. It's very simple and to the point and not too complicated. Some clients actually like certain ways, and they will tell you exactly what they like. Oh, I like this half bull nose. So if they don't care, then I will make a suggestion. If they do care, the client always wins. You always have the chance to veto my suggestions. Coming up to the suggestions, and so this document gets created as I've been shopping for the different items based on the list from my notes from the previous appointment. I'll put these all together into this document. In this case, the client's really close to my house, so I could just print this out and go over and meet her and talk to her in person, have the husband there looking at making decisions also, and also any samples I needed. I had samples of a different sink that actually wasn't even in this. I had a catalog of a sink that is what we ended up going with. After the next appointment, which really is kind of step 3, so I'm kind of doing step 1 and 2 together. Step 3 would be to meet with them, show them all the suggestions, show them the samples, show them the tile, show them the actual sample of this slab. So we're not just looking at it on a computer where your colors don't always match. Show them different tiles. This is a totally different tile than what they said they wanted. They said they wanted glass. And I had glass and I had some to show them that were fine, but this was finer, more fine, the beautiful one. Or as my friend Ryan and we always like to say, it's the favorite. That's when it's the best one, but I'm still waiting for them to decide. This is the favorite. I'm going to stop here and go back to step 3.